On this James the Bike Guy, we're taking a look at an insanely popular trail bike from Trek Bicycles. This is the Trek Fuel EX, and the model we're looking at today is the EX8, which is the nicest spec version of the aluminum frame that you can get. So in this video, we're going to go into some of the features of this 140 millimeter trail monster, go into the specs that are on the bike, and then of course we'll find out exactly what it weighs. So if this kind of thing is interesting to you, I suggest you stick around, hit the subscribe button, and let's go ahead, take a look at this beast. So the Trek Fuel EX has been around for quite some time, and it may just be one of the most popular trail bikes on sale today. And one of the major reasons for that is Trek does a really great job of setting this bike up to be kind of a jack of all trades. You know, this bike is set up with 140 millimeters of front travel, 130 millimeters of rear travel, with their ABP suspension design, which is one that does a great job climbing and descending while being reasonably efficient. And then they add in neat things like adjustable geometry with their MinoLink system, and a nice modern reach and head tube and seat tube angles to make this bike a really nice all-around performer. Now, I might be biased because I do own a 2020 Fuel EX7, and I've been super happy with it. But checking this out for 2021, I feel like this Fuel EX8 might be the best value in their lineup. And the reason for that is this bike is going to run their Alpha Platinum aluminum frame, which does have partially smoothed out welds. It's got all internal cable routing. It looks really nice. You do have that ABP rear suspension and 140 millimeters of front travel, but they're setting this bike up in two different configurations. The version we're looking at here today is the GX version. So this means it comes with a 1x12 GX lineup, but they also make this bike in a XT version, which comes with Shimano componentry. So that means out of the box, if you're a SRAM or a Shimano guy, you can track down the exact model you want. The other neat thing is this bike, in most of the sizes, is set up with 29-inch wheels running massive 29 by 2.6 tires. Now, where that changes is this bike comes all the way from an extra small all the way up to a double extra large, and they add in their 18.5-inch frame size, or also called the medium large. So there's a huge size range to this bike to get dialed into the one that's going to fit you best. And the extra small and small versions are both available in a 27.5-inch wheel with a curved top tube for extra standover clearance. And then small through double extra large is available with a standard straight top tube like we're looking at today, but with 29-inch wheels. So that means that the rider that would take a size small can decide between a 29 or a 27.5 based on their fit and how they feel. You also have those two curved top tube options in case you need a little extra clearance. Now, speaking about the geometry, we're going to talk about that famed medium large size. So in that size, the head tube angle, so up there, is 66 degrees or 66.5. And that's because that MinoLink we'll check out in a second, you have a high and a low position. And then the seat tube angle on the bike, that's going to run a 67.5 degree angle or 68 in high position. The chainstay in the back end is a reasonably short 437 millimeters. And something I really like about it is the reach. So the center line from the pedals up to the head tube there comes in at 460 millimeters. So if you're looking at different geometry charts, you'll know that's not crazy long, but it's roomy enough to make the bike handle super well. Now on the back end of the bike, we've got the ABP suspension, but the way you change the geometry is by flipping this MinoLink. So the MinoLink you see here is just a 5 millimeter Allen on the outside, and you loosen it up, this ovalized bolt can switch, and that's what adjusts the high and the low position of the seat stay. When you do that, you can raise or lower the bottom bracket, slacken out the seat tube or the head tube angles, and dial in the bike for the handling of your local terrain. Now, the ABP stands for something called active braking pivot. And what that is a concentric bearing that meets the seat stay and the chain stay together around the axle. And so when the rear wheel is moving around, The brake is staying in the same position in relation to the wheel, so you have absolutely no brake jack. And then they run a slightly higher pivot above the crankset to help with pedaling performance of this bike. And then it's driven through this rocker link to your Fox reactive float shock. So the reactive shock has special valving to be able to control the back end of this bike. The reactive setup has a 210 millimeter overall length with 52.5 millimeters of stroke. Of course, that's slightly different on the 27.5 inch version. And the suspension for the front end is taken care of by this Fox Rhythm 34. The Rhythm 34 is a float shock with a fit grip damper. So you've got rebound on the bottom, you've got compression up top, and you go from all the way open to firm with a smooth progression. So you can adjust that how you want. And then it is going to be air adjustable, and you can set this up with tokens in there to be able to adjust how much air volume to dial it in even more. Now, because this is the GX version, we'll just go over the drivetrain real quick. This is the brand new GX 12-speed that has a 52-tooth cog in the back end. So this is new for 2021, where they've added the 52-tooth cog in the back. And if we go through to check this out, you can see it's a narrow wide profile. And this is essentially the same GX cassette, except for instead of the 50-tooth, they've gone to 52. And to make that happen, they've had to revise the geometry on the rear derailleur, which does make these new ones shift just a little bit nicer than before. And then you go forward to this dub crankset. This is the Truvative Descendant crankset. It's running a 30-tooth narrow wide Eagle chainring. You do have ISCG mounts, so you can add a bash guard, whatever you may want. And then this is a press fit bottom bracket. Going up to the front end of the bike, we should check out the knock block setup. So this is something that does feel a little weird when you're playing around with it for the first time. But basically, knock block is a steering limiter that keeps the handlebar from coming too far around. And that's because to make the frame stiffer, you see that they run this straight down tube. The marketing term from Trek for this is the straight shot down tube. But you'll notice, depending on the fork crown, it could come in contact with the down tube. So they add in this limiter to keep that from happening. But if we take a realistic point of view, how often are you ever riding with your handlebar turned that far? And at least in my experience, I've never noticed that to be an issue out on the trail. I should mention Trek does sell an adapter that you can add in to run any stem and still retain the knock block feature, so it doesn't limit you. But this handlebar is nice and wide, has a 9-degree back sweep, and feels pretty decent. Shifting the bike is going to be the SRAM GX Eagle shifters. So it's a thumb configuration. And then you can slow the bike down with these G2R brakes. The G2Rs are the second generation of guide with a bit more clamping power, 4-piston calipers, giant disc rotors, and then you have a reach adjust that you can spin to adjust where the lever is to dial in the feel. On the back end for the saddle, you've got the Bontrager Arvada saddle, and that's mounted up on a Bontrager dropper seat post. This is the line drop seat post with a 1x style lever up top, so you can press this, and when you do, you'll see the seat post will rise right up to greet you. On the smaller frame sizes, it's going to have 100 millimeter of travel on that dropper, and on the larger frame sizes, it'll have 150 millimeters of drop. The last thing to talk about is how this thing connects to the ground. And for that, you've got the Bontrager XR4 Team Issue tires. In this case, they're the 29 by 2.6 version. They've got a nice tread running the same tire on the front and the rear, and they're mounted up on Bontrager's Line Comp 30 wheels. 30 millimeter wide internal width rim. They're tubeless capable out of the box with the tubeless wheels and tires, and they've got some super nice boost hubs. So you've got boost 15 by 110 up front, and then in the back you've got boost 12 by 148. But a real neat party trick on this hub is the hub itself comes with 54 teeth of engagement, and you can upgrade that to 108 teeth of engagement for just a few dollars in pawls and springs. I'll have a link up in the title card above so you can see how to do that. It's a hugely recommended upgrade in my opinion. So now that we've taken a look at this Trek Fuel EX8, let's go ahead and find out what this thing weighs. The actual weight of the Fuel EX8 and a double extra large comes in and weighs 31.57 pounds. Thanks for watching this video on the 2021 Trek Fuel EX8. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this bike. How does it fall in the lineup for you? And would you love to see this thing out on your own trails? While you're at it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind dropping a like, that would be really appreciated.